Right. Hello, everybody. I hope you still have energy for one more presentation before the lunch. So my name is Henni Pulkkinen, and I work at the Finnish Game and Fisheries Research as a Bayesian modeler. And today I'm going to tell you about a Bayesian spatial model, which is designed for the Baltic International Acoustic Survey and to estimate some interesting parameters on Botnian sea herring. This talk is a little bit different than the one I was planning when I was submitting the abstract. Back then I was planning to have a bit of a comparison between different simulation softwares, but as things don't always go as planned, I will now tell you more about this model in general and then also briefly about the algorithms. This work has been done together with the Swedish SLU and University of Helsinki. So the Baltic International Acoustic Survey, also called as BIAS, is an internationally conducted standardized survey that is designed to collect data on the herring and sprat resources at the Baltic Sea. And this survey takes place at September and October, when it's considered that there's minimum amount of emigration and immigration within these target species, so it best represents the resources on a specific year. And this survey data collection consists of two parts. So first of all, there is this echo sounding part. So the survey vessel travels with the cruise track at the statistical rectangles at the sea, and it collects the measurements with the echo sounder, taking the sum echo that comes back from a bunch of fish at certain depth. But the echo sounder cannot distinguish between different species or different individuals, and because of that we also need information from the individuals, and for that we have trawl catches. So minimum amount of 2 trawl catches take place at each statistical rectangle, and from those catches the species and length compositions is measured. And also catch samples are taken so that the age composition can be determined with the otoliths. And for age sampling, the sampling scheme is length group specific, so it doesn't directly tell us about the age composition in the total population, but about the age structure in a specific length group. So in this study, we concentrate on Botnian sea herring, and Botnian sea is that great area, ICES subdivision 30. And we have 6 years of time series starting from 2007. And we estimate the abundances and the length composition, age and length composition of herring. And because we are interested in herring, we pool all the other species together. So basically we have in the model 2 species, the herring and all the other species. This graph illustrates how the area covered by the survey is calculated when the survey vessel travels 1 nautical mile. So the acoustic measurements by the echo sounder, they are taking with this volume of a shape of a cone, which has 7 degrees at the top, and then the base is calculated from the radius at the base of the cone. And we use for simplicity the mean depth at each particular measurement. We could have a model that takes into account different depth layers separately, but computationally that would be quite heavy. And since we take this like as the whole cone as a one measurement and take the mean depth into account, we unfortunately need to restrict the data that we get from the trawling, because in the trawling, daytime trawling, the fish of different size are gathered in different depth layers. So the bigger fish tend to go into more deeper layer than the smaller ones. But at the night time, fish of different size are gathered together nearer the surface. And so when we take into account the night trawling information, we have a quite good idea based on that what are the length and species composition. So of course this data has been already analyzed with some traditional standard methods and used also in the stock assessment for Baltic botany and sea herring. But for going base, we have many of different reasons to do that. So we can, with the Bayesian model, we can model the survey process instead of modeling each data set separately each year. And this enables more detailed usage of the survey information for the stock assessment purposes. One big thing is, of course, that we can then take into account the uncertainties in these estimates, which is especially important because the amount of data from different years varies quite a lot. So, for example, in 2012, the resources to conduct this survey were cut in half, which meant that both the length of the cruise track and also the number of trawl holes was decreased with 50%. And naturally, the question comes up that how does it affect the estimates? How does the comparison of the estimates from year to year, how does it work out? And also with the Bayesian model, we can build up a hierarchical structure and learn about interesting parameters throughout the space, from different statistical rectangles to another, but also over the time series and several years of data. And then, of course, we can give prior distributions for such quantities that are known to be uncertain. For example, the error of the acoustics measurements and target strength function. Actually, this target strength function is such detail that is very crucial for the abundance estimates. And those parameters are considered to be fixed, both in this Bayesian model and also in the standard estimation procedure. But that is something that could be studied further in the future, how it could be improved with the prior distribution. But since things are not easy, we have had quite a lot of computational issues with this model. So we are using JAX for the simulations, and unfortunately the convergence and mixing, especially the mixing of the chains, is very slow in JAX. And this is making estimating the abundance parameters especially problematic. And within these 6 years of data or time series, the abundance parameters for 2008 and 2009 are especially problematic. And this problem also takes place in the overdispersion parameters for the spread of fish. But the length composition and age composition of the fish, they are simulating far better. Reparameterization has been helping somewhat, and also we have tried to use more efficient algorithms such as STAN software. And this was the original idea, to compare the JAX and the STAN softwares with 1 year of data. But unfortunately, neither one of these versions with 1 year of data was not converging. And my personal experience with STAN is that it shows great promise for sampling this kind of complicated models, because it clearly is faster, but it's also so different from the Gibbs sampling based programs such as JAX and BUGS that it requires quite a lot of time to get used to using it. So here are some illustration of the results. So these are not final in any way, but they show some quite interesting things. So here are the time series for the herring abundances and abundances of other species, both for Bayesian estimates and then for herring also with the standard estimation procedure. And now the 2008 and 2009, which have the mixing issues. Those distributions are actually bimodal. But in general, we can see that the Bayesian estimates tend to be a bit lower than the standard estimates in general. And also there is this quite interesting behavior of the trend of the time series, that first it goes up and then for 2012 it goes down, but there is quite a big conflict with the standard estimates. And then also for the abundance of other species, the trend is opposite. So it brings up a question, of course, that whether the division between different species is actually always quite accurate. So especially these abundance parameters, they raise up quite a lot of questions. But then when we go forward to the length composition estimates, we can see that the fit with the input data is rather good, rather similar for most of the years, so there isn't much of a conflict there. Bayesian estimates tend to give slightly higher share of bigger fish than what is assumed just by the input data, and also lower share of a bit smaller fish. And this might be one of the reasons why the abundances seem to be slightly lower than the standard estimates. So the fish are slightly bigger, so the absolute numbers would be slightly smaller. And the same takes place for the length composition of other species than herring, that the share of smaller fish seems to be slightly lower, and then again share of bigger fish slightly higher. And also the age composition estimates of herring, they fit quite similarly as the standard estimates. The biggest differences are for 2012 for 1-year-olds and then for 8+-year-olds. And as I said, 2012 year was quite problematic because of this reduction in the survey resources. So this quite high estimate for 1-year-olds with the standard estimates gives, of course, an idea that can it actually be possible, and what is the uncertainty of that. And now it seems that with the Bayesian estimate, this share would be clearly lower, and of course having quite a great uncertainty, and then other way around for 8+-year-olds. So the conclusions at this point are that the longer run would still be needed so that these results could be usable for the stock assessment. And to get there, we will most likely need further trying different reparameterizations, whether that could help us, maybe the better algorithms such as STAN. But also it could be that more detailed modeling of the survey itself, including information from the survey experts' knowledge, or the biology of herring, for example, schooling behavior, could be used. And also we will continue the work with STAN for sure to see how things go and improve. So that's all for now. Thank you. And some questions.